get right into it. The Russian government is denying claims by U.S. intelligence that Vladimir Putin is being misled about the Russian military failures in Ukraine. A spokesman for the Kremlin said at a press conference yesterday, quote, "Neither the State Department nor the Pentagon have real information about what is happening in the Kremlin." He also warned, quote, "Such a complete misunderstanding leads to erroneous and rash decisions that cause very bad consequences." Meanwhile, one U.S. official telling NBC News the United States government has intelligence indicating some senior Russian officials likely disagreed with Putin's decision to invade Ukraine. We know that's true. The official said, quote, "Their disillusionment is probably amplified by the Russian military's underperformance, which includes many friendly fire casualties, including shoot-downs of Russian aircraft by Russian air defense, wide-scale missile launch failures, and stiffer-than-expected resistance from the Ukrainian people." Inside Ukraine, Russian forces continue to launch attacks around the capital city of Kyiv, despite saying it planned to pull back from the area. This as Ukrainian officials say Russian soldiers have withdrawn from the Chernobyl nuclear plant after being exposed to high doses of radiation. NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel begins our coverage this morning from eastern Ukraine.
Russia's military has suffered shocking setbacks in Ukraine, some self-inflicted. Ukraine's state nuclear company says 2 columns of Russian troops left the Chernobyl nuclear disaster site, still contaminated from the 1986 meltdown. The company said the Russians are leaving after digging trenches in the contaminated soil and receiving significant doses of radiation. The Russian military has said radiation levels have remained within a normal range in the area. But is Putin even being told? A day after the White House said Russian generals were afraid to give Putin the truth about the war. President Biden saying this.
How badly is Vladimir Putin being misinformed by his advisors?
That's an open question. He seems to be self-isolating.
The U.S. official tells NBC News the United States has assessed some Russian government senior officials likely disagreed with Putin's decision to invade Ukraine. Despite promises to reduce attacks around Kyiv, Russia is already striking again near the capital, destroying this warehouse. Ukraine's President Zelensky, who spoke with President Biden, says he needs more American help to defend his country, including fighter jets and tanks. U.S. aid is essential for us, he said, while President Putin is making new economic threats, saying unfriendly countries, which include Europe and the United States, must pay for Russian natural gas in rubles in Russian banks or risk being cut off.
NBC's Richard Engel reporting from Ukraine. Let's bring in columnist and associate editor for The Washington Post, David Ignatius, and former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, retired 4-star Navy Admiral James Stavridis. He's chief international security and diplomacy analyst for NBC News and MSNBC. Gentlemen, good morning to you both. Admiral, I want to get your take on this out of the New York Times. They're reporting Russia is running its military campaign out of Moscow with no central war commander on the ground in Ukraine. Senior U.S. officials and independent analysts tell the Times the lack of a unifying military leader in Ukraine has meant Russian air, ground, and sea units are not in sync. Their disjointed battlefield campaigns have been plagued by poor logistics, low morale, and between 7,000 and 15,000 military deaths so far. At least 7 Russian generals also have died in the war. Now, the Kremlin reportedly is turning to Syrians to help turn the tide of the war. According to a Western diplomat who spoke with the Times, hundreds of Syrian mercenaries are on their way to join Putin's army, with some having already arrived in Russia for training. 2 sources tell the Times this is effectively seen as Syria returning the favor to Moscow for Russia's help in crushing rebels amid Syria's ongoing civil war. The Times also writes many more Syrians could be on their way to Ukraine, with recruiters reportedly drawing up lists of thousands of candidates interested in becoming mercenaries. At the Pentagon yesterday, Press Secretary John Kirby confirmed about 1,000 mercenaries, many of them Syrian, already are in Ukraine after being hired by a private Russian contractor. So, Admiral, take those 2 stories together, if you would. If there's no Russian military commander on the ground, that explains a lot of the failures, but also the desperation of having to call on Syrian mercenaries to back up Russian troops. What do you make of that?
It's a campaign that is floundering, and floundering badly. The Russians, as you know, have been trying to establish a military presence in Ukraine for some time. They have been And let's start with the generals. You know, there are 7 dead, maybe as many as 8 or 9. That's unheard of. In 20 years of war, the U.S. didn't lose a single general in actual combat operations. And, you know, there may be 7 in the ground as opposed to on the ground, so to speak. So that is problem number 1. And you cannot run a big campaign like this without dedicated on-the-ground generals who know the feel of their troops and are capable of bringing that kind of jointness, air, sea, land, cyber, intelligence, bringing it all together. Second point, you know, you get the feeling that the Kremlin's turning a little bit into a Game of Thrones up there with factions going back and forth. And I think the administration is doing a very good job of fostering that by trying to get kind of behind the mind of Putin, if you will. And certainly if you go for the king, you better kill him. And I think those around Putin know that. But that's problem number 2. And then third and finally, Willie, very concerning, these Syrians coming in. This is yet another dirty trick, if you will, out of Putin. But these are going to be forces that are the ultimate undisciplined, looting, raping. It's going to be a very ugly part of the campaign. And all of it is inclined to terrorize the people of Ukraine because their fighting spirit is the center of gravity.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.